Greetings, history enthusiasts. Today, we embark on a captivating journey into the realm of alternate history with Alternate History. What if USA didn't enter World War II? Top 10 Scenarios. World War II was a defining moment in human history, but what if the United States had chosen a different path? Join me as we count down from number 10 to the most intriguing scenario, exploring the potential outcomes and consequences of this alternate timeline. Scenario number 10. The rise of the Axis powers. If the United States didn't enter World War II, the balance of power and the trajectory of the conflict would likely have taken a drastically different turn, potentially resulting in the continued rise and consolidation of the Axis powers. Without the substantial economic and military support provided by the United States, Allied forces, particularly in Europe, would have faced even greater challenges in countering the German military machine. The absence of U.S. involvement might have allowed Adolf Hitler's regime to exert more influence over European nations, potentially altering the course of the war in favor of the Axis. Additionally, the lack of American intervention might have affected the Pacific theater, allowing Japan to expand its imperial ambitions more extensively in the Asia-Pacific region. The absence of U.S. naval power and strategic support could have provided Japan with greater freedom to establish dominance in the Pacific, posing a more formidable threat to neighboring nations. Scenario number 9. The fate of Europe. If the United States hadn't entered World War II, the fate of Europe would likely have been significantly different. The absence of American military and economic support would have left the Allies, particularly the British and the Soviet Union, facing an even more challenging situation against the Axis powers. Without the influx of U.S. resources, including the Lend-Lease Act supplying the Allies with essential war materials, the ability of the Allied forces to withstand the onslaught of Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy would have been severely compromised. This could have led to a different outcome in Europe, potentially resulting in the continued dominance of the Axis powers on the continent. The lack of U.S. intervention might also have influenced the geopolitical landscape post-World War II. With the absence of American influence in the rebuilding process, Europe might have faced a more fractured and politically unstable situation. The United States played a key role in initiatives like the Marshall Plan, providing economic aid for the reconstruction of war-torn European nations. Without such assistance, the recovery and development of European countries might have been hindered, potentially shaping a different post-war order in which the United States played a less central role in European affairs. Scenario number 8. Technological advancements. If the United States had chosen not to enter World War II, the trajectory of technological advancements during and after the war could have been drastically altered. The Manhattan Project, which led to the development of the atomic bomb, was a critical undertaking by the United States during the war. The successful deployment of nuclear weapons played a pivotal role in hastening the end of the conflict. If the U.S. had stayed on the sidelines, the development and use of atomic weapons might have been delayed, potentially altering the course of subsequent geopolitical dynamics and the nuclear arms race that characterized the Cold War. Furthermore, the war served as a catalyst for technological innovations across various fields, from aviation to medicine. If the United States had remained neutral, the impetus for such advancements might have been diminished, and the pace of progress could have slowed. Technologies like radar, jet propulsion, and penicillin, which emerged or saw significant advancements during the war, might have taken longer to develop or might not have been prioritized without the immediate demands of the conflict. Scenario number 7. The Cold War and nuclear arms race. If the United States hadn't entered World War II, the dynamics of the Cold War and the subsequent nuclear arms race might have unfolded differently. The use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 was a significant factor in bringing about the end of World War II. However, it also set the stage for the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. If the U.S. had not entered the war and developed and deployed atomic weapons, the power balance between the Allies and the Axis might have been less skewed. The absence of such a dramatic demonstration of military superiority could have led to different negotiations and power dynamics in the post-war era, potentially influencing the course of the Cold War. Additionally, without the immediate threat of nuclear weapons during World War II, the urgency to develop and stockpile these weapons during the Cold War might have been diminished. The technological and scientific expertise gained during the Manhattan Project and subsequent nuclear programs played a central role in the arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. Scenario number 6. The fate of Holocaust victims. If the United States had chosen not to enter World War II, the fate of Holocaust victims would likely have been even more tragic. The systematic genocide orchestrated by Nazi Germany claimed the lives of 6 million Jews and millions of others, including Romani people, disabled individuals, and political dissidents. American involvement in the war played a pivotal role in the liberation of concentration and extermination camps as Allied forces advanced through Europe. Without U.S. intervention, the liberation of these camps might have been delayed, prolonging the suffering of those held captive under inhumane conditions. Moreover, the absence of American influence might have affected global awareness and the subsequent response to the Holocaust. The atrocities committed by the Nazis were not fully grasped by the international community until the later stages of the war and the subsequent Nuremberg trials. If the United States had remained neutral, the urgency and commitment to addressing the Holocaust may not have been as pronounced, potentially altering the course of history and the moral imperative to ensure never again. Scenario number 5. The Pacific Theater and Japan's expansion. If the United States had not entered World War II, the fate of the Pacific Theater and Japan's expansion would likely have taken a different turn. The absence of U.S. military intervention in the Pacific could have allowed Japan to continue its imperialistic expansion more unchecked. The Battle of Midway, a pivotal naval engagement in 1942, was a turning point that thwarted Japanese plans for further expansion in the Pacific. Without the significant presence of the U.S. Navy and its decisive victories, Japan might have extended its control over a broader swath of the Pacific region, impacting the balance of power in Asia. Furthermore, the lack of U.S. involvement might have altered the dynamics of the Pacific War and the subsequent negotiations for peace. The dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States in 1945 played a critical role in Japan's surrender. Without these events, the end of the war in the Pacific might have taken a different course, potentially prolonging hostilities or leading to a negotiated settlement with different terms. Scenario number 4. The United States as an isolationist power. If the United States had maintained an isolationist stance and refrained from entering World War II, the global balance of power and the course of history would have been significantly altered. The absence of American military and economic assistance to the Allies could have emboldened the Axis powers, particularly Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The isolationist approach might have allowed the Axis to achieve greater territorial gains, altering the geopolitical landscape and potentially establishing a different global order. Moreover, the decision of the United States to remain isolationist would likely have had profound consequences for the principles of collective security and international cooperation. The concept of the United Nations, established after World War II, might not have materialized in the same form without U.S. participation in the conflict. The lack of a unified global response to aggression and totalitarianism could have led to a more fragmented and unstable post-war world, with nations hesitant to collaborate on international initiatives. Scenario number 3. The fate of Pearl Harbor. If the United States had not entered World War II, the fate of Pearl Harbor and the aftermath of the surprise attack would have been markedly different. The attack on Pearl Harbor by the Imperial Japanese Navy on December 7, 1941, served as the catalyst for America's entry into the war. If the U.S. had remained neutral, the response to the attack might not have been as immediate or as forceful. The lack of a direct military engagement could have altered the strategic importance placed on the Pacific Theater and the subsequent naval campaigns against Japan. Moreover, without the United States actively participating in the conflict, the rebuilding and strategic considerations for the Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor might have followed a distinct trajectory. The development of the Pacific War and the eventual island-hopping campaigns might not have been pursued with the same intensity and strategic focus. Scenario number 2. The role of Allied forces. If the United States had chosen not to enter World War II, the role of Allied forces in countering the Axis powers would have been severely impacted. The absence of the powerful and resource-rich U.S. military would have left the burden of combating Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan squarely on the shoulders of the British Empire, the Soviet Union, and other allies. The strategic and logistical support provided by the United States, including the Lend-Lease Act, played a critical role in sustaining the war efforts of the Allies. Without this aid, the balance of power on the eastern and western fronts might have shifted, potentially prolonging the conflict and altering the outcomes in favor of the Axis. Furthermore, the United States' entry into the war significantly influenced the dynamics of the Grand Alliance and the collaborative efforts among the Allies. The combined strength of the United States, the Soviet Union, and the British Empire created a formidable coalition that ultimately led to the defeat of the Axis powers. If the United States had remained neutral, the coordination and cohesion among the Allies might have been compromised, making it more challenging to mount effective joint military operations and strategic campaigns. Scenario number 1. The shape of a post-war world. If the United States had chosen not to enter World War II, the shape of the post-war world would have taken a radically different form. The absence of U.S. intervention would have likely altered the geopolitical landscape, potentially allowing the Axis powers to establish a more dominant and enduring influence over Europe and Asia. The United States played a key role in the establishment of the United Nations and the principles of collective security that aim to prevent future global conflicts. Without U.S. involvement, the foundation for international cooperation and diplomacy might have been weakened, and the world could have faced a more fractured and uncertain future. Moreover, the economic and technological advancements spurred by the war effort had profound effects on the post-war reconstruction and development. The United States emerged from World War II as an economic powerhouse, and its involvement in the Marshall Plan significantly contributed to the rebuilding of war-torn European nations. Without this assistance and the infusion of American resources, Europe might have faced a more prolonged and challenging recovery, potentially leading to a less stable and prosperous post-war world. And there you have it, history enthusiasts. The top 10 intriguing scenarios of what could have transpired had the United States not entered World War II. By exploring these alternate possibilities, we gain a deeper understanding of the pivotal role the U.S. played in shaping the course of history. If you found this video fascinating and informative, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to RobotRay channel for more incredible explorations. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on exploring.